If you are watching the news on television or listening on the radio or picking up a newspaper, you may see stories talking about the stock market like it's a single thing. Like they might say the stock market is up today, or the stock market has been really shaky for the past few weeks. And you might think to yourself after hearing this discussion, what does that mean? I mean, an individual stock can go up or down, but probably there are lots of stocks going up and lots of stocks going down over the course of the day. What do they mean when they talk about the stock market like it's a single thing? And that gets to the notion of what we call an index. So, an index is kind of like a basket of stocks that represent a certain segment of the economy, or maybe try to represent the entire economy of a country somehow. Um, the there are indices for every country in the world that has its own stock market, and just so many lesser ones that I couldn't possibly name them all. The three most popular in the United States are what we call the Dow Jones Industrial Index. Sometimes people just call that the Dow. And the Dow is a basket of 30 of the largest stocks in the United States. So when people say the Dow is up, they mean that most of those 30 stocks went up, or maybe one went up by a whole lot and the others just had a kind of an average day. But as a group, that group became more profitable. So that gives you a slight snapshot of what's happening in the US economy, but it's only 30 companies and they're only enormous companies. Um, there's also another index very popular called the S&P 500. And that tracks 500 companies. So it's a broader snapshot. But again, it's just large and medium sized companies. So it gives you a better idea. Sometimes those two indexes go in different directions, and then they say the index is mixed. Or maybe they both go up, and you say, well, that must have been a good day if both large stocks and smaller companies, mid sized companies, also went up. The third most popular index in the United States is called the NASDAQ index. Now, the NASDAQ is made up of 8,000, more than 8,000 actually, different stocks. And so that seems like, gosh, that's got to be the broadest one of all. The NASDAQ tends to rely heavily on technology stocks. So it doesn't necessarily give you the broadest view of the economy itself. But again, looking at all three of these, you've got different ideas of how companies are doing. And there are a whole bunch of other indexes. There's indexes that focus on small companies. As I say, there's an index called the FTSE, FTSE, which talks about the strength of Japanese companies. So that tells you how the Japanese stock market is doing. There's one for the Chinese stock market and the stock market in the United Kingdom and all sorts of other companies like that. So there are all sorts of ways to have indexes that tell you what the broad economy is doing. And that's very useful when you're thinking about how an individual stock is doing. So let me say, for instance, that Amazon stock became 5% more valuable over the course of the year. Is that good news or bad news? Should I feel good for Amazon or bad for Amazon? The point is, it really depends. If the rest of the stock market went up by 8%, then Amazon really is sluggish there. But if the rest of the market went down by 2% over the course of the year, but Amazon went up, boy, I wish I was in Amazon at that point. So that gives you an idea. One very powerful use of indexes is being able to compare individual stocks to the broad index. And in the next video, we're going to talk about index funds, which give you another very powerful way to use indexes to help you understand and make money.